Okay. Well, we want to make the best use of our time, and you all are those students that are always at class early, never have to wait on you all to start class. So, kudos to each and every one of you. My name is James Rowland. I'm the Senior Director for the Center for Civic and Community Engagement at Emory University, and we just want to welcome you to another episode, as they would say, but another session of the Dream Lab. The Dream Lab is we can talk more about its purpose here at the Wild, but it is really intended to be create a space and place for colleagues that are doing civic engagement work in higher education to think aspirationally and about the work that we do, and to make sure that we have time not just to deal with the pragmatic things and the things that may be time sensitive that we all have to wrestle with, but to also find ways with colleagues to think beyond just this moment so that we can hopefully chart new and productive and creative paths to a better future for the work that we all are invested in. So that just is my attempt is to welcome each and every one of you. It sounds like we have some new folks. Anyone that's new, raise your hand real quick. Okay, we got some new folks. Well, welcome, welcome. Folks that are coming back, that means we did something right that you all thought that you wanted to come back and hang out with us again for an hour. But our thought is that each and every one of these sessions will be creative spaces, thought provoking spaces that we can all be able to be productive. So we're going to go ahead and work on some of the community stuff. Part of our goal is to cultivate community, not only dream, but it's hard to dream when you don't know the people you're dreaming with. And so we have an opportunity for us to break out into breakout groups and to learn more about each other. So I'm gonna turn it over to some of my colleagues throughout the course of this session. They'll introduce themselves, tell you about how awesome they are in their own right, and we'll just continue to maximize the time that we have today.
All right. Hi, everybody. I think it's afternoon for all of us. I'm not sure. So good morning if you in a different time zone. My name is Agnieszka Nens. I'm at Tulane in New Orleans. And it's my pleasure really to sort of start this conversation with this sort of common thread of dreaming, right? So in a moment, just to build community for, I don't know, 3, 4 minutes, really briefly, we're going to break out into small rooms just to learn about each other. But the prompt today is, of course, say your name, your pronouns, whatever feels comfortable with your sort of professional identity, but also let us know, if not this job, what would be your dream profession? Or, and it has to be professional. You cannot say like, I would like to retire. No. But think about what would you like to do professionally as your career. So that will be our prompt for today to sort of keep on dreaming. And then we're gonna connect and come back to this room and then start the collective dreaming in this space. So just your name, your professional affiliation, and if not this job, or if not this job, what would be your dream activity professionally? So I think we're gonna have smaller groups. Thank you, Adam. Put it in the chat so that we have it. And here we go.
Well, hopefully that was great conversation. Hopefully you got to meet some new people, got to connect with some folks. I don't know about everybody else's group, but group three was really making it happen. So we've thought of business ideas, we've thought of different personalities and professions that we would engage in. So yeah, I don't know how much y'all were dreaming, but we were dreaming big in group three. So I hope that you all were doing likewise, and there's some new dream partners that you have now as a result of that intentional time that we created just to talk with one another. Um, this part of our agenda, we want to just talk about a few things. One, the purpose of the Dream Lab, as I talked about, is to bring together community engagement professionals in higher education that understand not only there's a need, that dreaming is not just a luxury, but a necessity. And it's something that we need, especially in this moment when we have so many profound challenges in higher education. And we are just wanting to make sure that we not only create space, but create space that allows us to step back, allows us to reflect, but also to dream forward because we know that in many ways, if we're not dreaming, then who else is? And if no one else is advocating for our work and thinking about how this work can evolve and grow, then who will be doing that? And so these monthly meetings are an attempt to create a supportive, generative environment where members can engage in bold aspirational thinking. And so you should feel free to do that in any way that you feel comfortable and respectful of others. But we're really hoping that we think about big questions like how might we think about engagement in new ways? How might we reimagine a thriving campus community relationship? What can we do to remain hopeful when there's so many things that are heavy and burdening us down in this moment? So these are just some of the things that led us to want to create this group and create space. And so for all the new people, if you want to understand our why, this is the part of our why. And plus, we thought you all were really awesome people to kind of, meet with and talk to and listen to. And you just never know. You may find someone that may in the future become a rich philanthropist, and they may give you money for something to name a building or a program in your work. But we're here really to think about creative ways. We're hoping to use a variety of different formats, readings, podcasts, a lot of different resources, books, guest speakers. We really have a lot of latitude and flexibility over these next several sessions to really make this what we would like as a group and what would benefit and be value added to you all. So today we're going to be opening up space to do some of that. But before I go any further, I want to turn it over to one of my other colleagues as one of the co-facilitators to talk about some ground rules or kind of loose expectations that we have for what we do here in the Dream Lab.
Hi, everyone. Adam, for those of you who I haven't had a chance to meet yet. So for those of you who were here last time, we talked about this, so I'll go through it briefly because I know we have some new people. Um, so in terms of kind of the guiding principles of our conversation, as a starting point, at least for those, we had a couple of quick things that we were thinking would work as guardrails for our conversations. So one, what's said here stays here, but what you learn here can leave the room. So, extract what you can from this, but let's try to be uh, allow for some grace and space for others in the conversation. Two, this is a judgment-free zone. Three, you should feel free to be, and there's no should here of imposing those sorts of things on others. Four, step up when you feel comfortable. Um, and only you know that. But step back to create space for others as well. So we have a limited amount of time each week, or sorry, each month. And so we want to make sure that everyone has space to contribute. And lastly, we've talked about curiosity with care. So um, really just trying to exercise empathy and consideration for others in these conversations, but to hopefully come in with a curious mindset as we go. So with that, I will turn it to another colleague who's our co-lead on this, Maurice, to do some dreaming.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you again for joining our session today. Really excited to dream with you as a group so that we can kind of shape the smaller group conversations that we will have after this session. So quickly, just to do a quick recap or to any takeaways that anyone had who was here the last time. Did anybody like to share? And I'll get us started here. So from the last session, it was really great to hear about some of the ideas that individuals are dreaming up in terms of their offices and their university and their communities as a whole, and kind of some of the steps that they've already taken to make that happen. One of the bigger projects that I heard about was the starting of an honors college. And what does that mean to have community engagement be the base and the foundation for that? So that was a really exciting thing to hear about. Were there any other things or any other takeaways that anybody else had from our first meeting?
Yeah. Oh, somebody was about to. Great. I'll just jump in here too. I really thought the first session was really good. It was another collection of folks that are not here today, but they shared some really. I remember one colleague mentioned about that for them, they were really yearning for a space to dream. That they have been so much in the weeds of doing that they really hadn't had time to breathe and think about what could be. And so that was refreshing to hear because even before we got to like things that we dreamed about was just acknowledging the importance of just having space like this, that we're all kindred spirits. We all are doing very similar like-minded work, and that we are in many ways in a moment where we're got external forces, internal forces, and what does dreaming look like? And so one of the things I thought was really good, and then I think another takeaway for me from the last session is that dreaming happens at multiple levels. Someone in our group shared that there's the dreaming that I'm doing individually, for like my work and for me for professionally, but then also the dreaming that I like to do from a university perspective and with other colleagues on my campus. But then there's this also dreaming that I would like to do with colleagues like yourself and think about the larger work and what does that mean. And so I invite you all to think about maybe dreaming in those compartments as well, because I thought that was really awesome for me to hear them share it in that way and frame it that way. And Doug, I see you put something in chat. Do you mind? Would you like to share that? If you'd like to, would you like to share that with the rest of the group? Sh- you know.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to drop that in there. It was one of the things that I wrote down as a big takeaway was the power doesn't come just from the conversation, but the reflection that comes after. And it really, again, when reflection's a big part of not just community engaged learning, but just what I do on a daily basis. Like it was just something that kind of resonated with me and got me thinking a little bit more about making sure that I'm building that reflection into my daily and weekly routines.
Thank you for that, Doug. Adam?
Um, so one thing I'll add, and I think it kind of goes along with some of the other comments that have happened is, so we did this last year and we're pushing it forward this year. And I think a lot about, I remember in my master's program, in student affairs, there was this conversation around higher ed being, it was kind of, maybe an analogy that's used a lot, but creating change in higher ed is, not like turning around a speedboat, but like turning around a cruise ship, in terms of the speed at which it can happen. But I'd like to think that this space is one in which, for our little corners of the higher ed world, that we can plan a little bit and think about it. Because even if you're turning a cruise ship, even though it doesn't seem fast that it's happening, um, you are changing the direction of it. So having some intentionality around like, well, what is it that we're steering towards? Like, what is the point on the horizon? Um, where it's so easy to be kind of siloed and stuck in the day-to-day moments and kind of have, your focus on what it is that's like the task at hand. And so we wanted to have this space to be able to think big and to think long term and to think strategically about what it is that we want to aim towards and what we think this field can be, what the potential is for the students of the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Adam. And thank you for everybody else for sharing your takeaways from last week and just a few of the things that you've been thinking about and dreaming about. So, for the next 3 minutes, what I'd like to do is poll the group. We want to dream together. And so, basically, thinking about what are some topics that you are dreaming about expanding on that we can take into our smaller groups and have a larger discussion around for the next 20 to 25 minutes. So, are there any ideas or any dreams that are currently out there? And
And
I'll
Will, I saw you raise your hand too, so I don't know if you want to share your comments, your thoughts too, as we go into this as well.
No, I was just clapping. Sorry. I used the reaction thing way too much than I should. So sorry. I was just clapping what Adam said.
all good. Toysha?
Someone else raised their hand. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So I was attracted to this space, in part because I'm looking for kindred spirits and like-minded folks, but really trying to reclaim the university space as an intellectual community that is, if not free from an active resistance to the sort of capitalist takeover of these institutions. So really trying to find ways to reclaim the thinking space, and the reflective space that universities can be in generating good thinkers and good questioners and good problem solvers. I feel like a lot of our work gets bogged down in trying to meet the needs of the systems that we're caught up in. And so that's what I'm hoping to dream alongside everyone here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. One thing that I'd like to throw out there is thinking about as the AI boom continues, what does AI and digital tools look like in community engagement? What are some things that are possibly hindering community trust with AI? And what are some of the ethical considerations in using it in our civic and community engagement spaces? Other thoughts?
I think I'll go ahead and say that how to build more active collaborations, not just on campus, but with folks that we're working with in communities to bring people who are community partners more actively into learning so that students are learning from people or doing the work that they're learning about or with whom they share identity in ways that's not represented in staff and faculty otherwise. And then also providing opportunities for those folks to do all sorts of kinds of professional development and get compensated in different ways too.
Awesome. I think compensation for community partners has been a long conversation that several people are having in different spaces and just kind of figure out what does that look like from institution to institution that may or what that compensation looks like from access to campus resources, the library, using spaces to be able to hold meetings and things of that nature to actual physical dollars given to the individual or to their organization. So I think that would be a great conversation as well to dream around. Others, any other topics?
I just want to qualify by saying I'm not interested in talking about compensation, but I am interested in talking about collaboration because I know that conversation's happening in a lot of places.
Awesome.
I'll share one of the things I've been thinking about too, in addition to some of the things people have shared, is this whole idea of what does it mean to dream from different perspectives? And what I mean by that is this whole idea of perspectives taking as a way to build empathy, as a way to better understand folks' motives, intentions, but also to hopefully get to some shared outcomes. So uh, one of the things that I've been interested in is you all probably have heard about one of the books Adam Grant writes about being you could be a preacher, you could be a prosecutor, but there's also this idea of being a scientist, and what does that bring if you take on a different perspective. And so I think about that because I think we all in our work intuitively jump from different perspectives. We think sometimes, what do our community partners need, what do our students need, but what does that look like to be more intentional about that perspectives taking in a world where we're trying to dream of a more a way for us to collectively work and live together.
Awesome. Thank you for that, James.
I guess building off of that, I would say for me, not just different, well, different perspectives, and also appreciating that everybody who comes to the campus is bringing their whole selves along with them. And what does that mean for the parts that of our lives that create barriers to full participation in whatever our role is on campus? So whether that's as a student or as a staff a member, if you're a parent or a caregiver, which is what I focus on, or something else, what are those things that if we're going to create caring environments where people feel free to do their best work and participate fully, I think that kind of perspective sharing and broadening, just understanding the wholeness of what we each bring to campus. And that's maybe too general, but in my area of parenting and caregiving, like working with faculty about, understanding the difference between logistical rigor and academic or intellectual rigor. Those are two different kinds of things, and you can relax logistical rigor without sacrificing anything of academic or intellectual rigor and really support a student's success. So that's just a matter of understanding what the student is coming to class with. That's true of our employees too.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So, to capture what's been said, one of the opportunities that we'll have today is dreaming around reclaiming university spaces to be that reflective academic space free of kind of like the political polarization that we're seeing right now. And what does that look like? Dreaming around what does it mean to actively collaborate with community more than and to add learning to that situation, or to have them to have learning to that situation, to be an active participant and everybody be active, everyone be activated in that coming together. And then also dreaming about bringing your whole self to work, and what are some of the barriers to this, and what are some of the various perspectives that people can have to what that means. To one, bring your whole self to the job. What are the barriers that are for you bringing your whole self to that job, and kind of what that looks like. All three of these topics kind of come together in various ways, but over the next 25 minutes in our smaller groups, we'll look at those three areas. What does it mean to reclaim the university space in the wake of our political polarization and bringing it back to a reflective academic space? How do we go about actively collaborating with community and campus community together and having everybody actually be engaged in that piece? And then bringing your own perspective of what does it mean to bring your whole self to work, and what are some of those barriers to doing so? Okay? Sound good to everybody?
Can you just drop those in the chat,
I sure
Maurice?
will.
Thanks.
And so, and then, so Caitlin will go ahead and start to separate us out into groups, and I'll send you that information. You have 25 minutes.
Well, awesome. I know we only have just a couple of minutes. Our group, once again, can't speak about anybody else's group, but our group was awesome. So I hope that it bodes well for you all. Just in terms of next steps, and then I want to open it up if there's some initial like key takeaways or just things. One, I want to say thank you to everyone for again making this a productive, engaging time today in the midst of everything that we got going on. I think we would be remiss if we did not highlight the importance of being in the community during this time. The second is if you have ideas, please share it with one, if not all of us as facilitators. We would love to hear additional thoughts, especially if you got around books or special guests or any other things that could add to topics. We're going to be thinking about what that looks like and grounding our conversations around some of those things, maybe podcasts or books or articles or guests. And so think about that. And then with that being said, I just want to turn it over if there's any thoughts or takeaways that anyone has today that they would like to share, anything that came out of their conversation, we welcome that as well.
I just want to say real quick to tack on to what James just said. The conversation today made me think maybe we want to have some sort of back channel like for ongoing asynchronous conversation, even if it's Slack drives me nuts, honestly, like to hear the noise in the background at work, but some sort of discussion board or some sort of way of messaging one another if there is like a podcast or something that pops up. But I'll just put that out into the atmosphere and then maybe we can figure that out later.
Zoom might actually have some capabilities for that.
But we have institutional team on Teams? No.
Yeah, maybe we can talk with Campus Compact about that as well. Because one of the things we wanted from this group was to have a resource, a set of resources that people could draw from. That as we had these conversations, people could deposit those ideas. So that's a great thing, I think, for us to work towards. So if people do have ideas about how to best compile that information, that would be greatly appreciated too. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Well, let me just say again, thank you for everyone participating, for sharing your ideas. Very rich conversations today. Thank you to my co-facilitators for being awesome and amazing and their continued support and bringing their ideas as well. This is about building community. This is about making connections. It's about being creative. It's about holding on to hope in the midst of a world that sometimes feels hopeless. But we have an opportunity and a decision that each of us can make each and every day to make decisions and do things that allow for us to remain hopeful. And so hopefully today you had a little time to do some of that, and there's something that has been said that will encourage you to continue to do the amazing work that you do each and every day. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your participation, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, y'all.